So I wanted to share an experience I had that was heart-opening and mind-blowing that can reinforce more about what this path of spirituality can allow us to experience. I had been going to Los Angeles for one of my best friends. Marilyn was getting married in Los Angeles on Valentine's Day. And I was leaving out of Baltimore, where my niece and nephew, my sister and brother-in-law live. And it was going to be Valentine's Day, so I had to give my niece, who's 5, and my nephew, Adam, who's 8, Valentine lollipops, because it was going to be Valentine's Day, and they looked really yummy and delicious. I got them from the health food store, and they said, "I love you and be my Valentine." So Lainey, who's 5, bit into hers, and Adam bit into his, and they both said at the same time, "Oh, yuck, this doesn't taste like chocolate," because they look like chocolate, really yummy and delicious. And I realized, oh my God, of course they're not chocolate. They're from the health food store, and in 1991, there was no chocolate in health food stores. It was only carob. So the carob Valentine lollipops got thrown away. And Marilyn had done a reading with what is called a clairaudient. It is actually somebody who is supposed to be able to hear people who have passed on, people who are on the other side. And I listened to the tape of Brian, who was a clairaudient, doing the reading with Marilyn. And even though the voice was Brian's, the words that were coming out of his mouth were clearly her mother's words. So I thought, well, since I'm going to be in LA, I could do a reading with Brian, who's the clairaudient, about my mom's passing. And so I was really skeptical, though, so I didn't call him until the night I was about to fly out to LA for Marilyn's wedding. And he just happened to have a cancellation for the one day I would have been able to make the appointment. And I didn't tell him anything about myself or who referred me, because Marilyn's also a therapist, and Marilyn and I had run the San Francisco City Yoga Meditation Center together. So I didn't want him to know anything about me that he could pick up from context clues, knowing that I was a psychologist and Marilyn's friend. So he would know that there was a spiritual part that was important to me as well. So I went for the reading, and my mom had just passed away in 1990 at the end of November, and she had died from congestive heart failure. And he starts off the reading, and he tells me that my mom, who was present, died from congestive heart failure. So that was the first little bit mind-blowing, but I was still really skeptical. And then he said that, they have to learn to slow down their vibration and speak with feeling. And so there were people up there helping her learn how to do that, and one of the people was Irving. But my skepticism said, every Jewish family has an Irving. So that didn't, change my skepticism. And then he proceeds to start laughing, and he said, "I have no idea why she's telling me this, but she said, you'll understand." And he said, "Carob is definitely no substitute for chocolate." Well, that blew my mind. How could he have known that? You can't make that one up from context clues. So I took a while for me to regain my sense of composure, and then he went on to tell me that they saw, and my mom was telling him that she saw the book that I was supposed to be writing. She saw my name on the cover of her book, and she kind of laid out chapter by chapter what the book was going to be about, and it was on communication and relationships and learning our life lessons and developing spiritual practices to ground us and to open our hearts and be able to receive guidance from the divine. So when I went to listen to the cassette, it was cassette tapes at that time, everything was on the first side, and then I flipped it over where she started telling me about the book. And it was interesting because in the middle of the second side, it was blank. And it was as if they had given me the TLS, Tender Loving Shove, to write the book, and now it was up to me to make it my own.